There's my mic. Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Placer County LAFCO meeting for Wednesday, February 11th, 2026. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and may you please rise and follow me with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Amy, can I please have a roll call?
Yes. Commissioner DiMattei.
Here.
Commissioner Eklund.
Here.
Commissioner Friedman. Here. Commissioner Gustafson is absent. Commissioner Lohman.
Here.
Commissioner Rohan.
Here.
Alternate Commissioner Landon.
Here.
Alternate Commissioner Spriggs. Here. Alternate Commissioner Wilson. Here. Alternate Commissioner Youngblood. Here. Chair Alpine.
Here.
And alternate Commissioner Landon is voting in place of Commissioner Gustafson today.
All right. Great. That'll move us to item 3, reports from staff.
I have one report. The Cal LAFCO is putting on a LAFCO 101 webinar on Wednesday, February 25th, starting at 10 o'clock. This session provides a practical introduction to LAFCO fundamentals, and it's a great refresher for everyone. Registration is free for all the commissioners, and if you're interested in attending, you can sign up directly at Cal LAFCO, or you can contact me, and I will handle the registration for you.
Great. Thank you, Amy. That'll bring us to item 4, changes and approval of the agenda.
Chair, staff has a number of minor typos that we'd like to submit for edit. On page 2, item 6A, we would like to change 2025 to January 21st, 2026. On page 26, the Newcastle board vote should be 5-0, not 4-0. On page
26?
Page 26, yes. I'll wait if you want to get there. That's, I feel like, kind of in the middle. It's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 paragraphs down. Page 30, the measure A charge, near the second paragraph to the bottom, it should be $220.02 per parcel. On page 30, second paragraph from the bottom, it should be $222.02. Page 37, the government code section that is referenced on item 1 should start with a 5, not a 4.
What page was that? Sorry.
That was page 37.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Page 49, the date should be February 11th, 2026. I guess I still live in 2025 land. I apologize. And then the first paragraph, the shorthand for Placer Hills should be FPD, not PFD. And then page 50 is, again, it should be a 5-0 vote for the Newcastle board, not 4-0. And that's the second paragraph from the bottom. And those are all of the minor typos we would like to have changed in the record, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'd like to also make the change of omitting items 9 and 10. The closed session will not be needed for this meeting here. And with that, can I get a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
Move to approve.
Second?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries unanimously. And that brings us to item 5, public comment. This is an opportunity for the public to speak to the commission on any subject within its jurisdiction that is not on today's agenda. You may, but are not required to, submit a speaker card before the first speaker is called, and comments are limited to 3 minutes. Items from the public will be considered without discussion by the commission and may be referred to staff. At this time, I'd like to open up the public comment. Any member of the public like to speak? First in the chambers, come on up. Seeing none, I now will ask those that are online. Anybody online would like to speak in public comment, please raise your hand. All right, seeing none, we're going to close public comment and move to the consent calendar, item 6. On the side, is there any reports or anything? Okay. I was going to ask if the commission would have any questions on the consent calendar as presented. Okay, seeing none, I'm going to ask the public. If anybody from the public would like to comment on any of the items on the consent calendar, it's your time to do so. Seeing none in the chambers, I'll ask those that are online. Anybody would like to comment on the consent calendar? Please raise your hand. Yep. Seeing none, we're going to I'll bring the consent calendar back to the commission for action.
I'll move approval.
Second.
All right. I believe we have no, there's no resolutions. So with that, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries unanimously. And that brings us to our public hearing. 7A, LAFCO Project 2022-05, reorganization of Placer Hills, Newcastle Fire District's sphere of influence. Ms. Rusk.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, Commissioners. I will be presenting this item on behalf of the Interim Executive Officer. This is item 7A, LAFCO project number 2022-05, Action 1, the Sphere of Influence Amendment for Placer Hills Fire Protection District. I just want to let you know I'll be reading a script while I do these presentations and not doing it off the cuff just to make sure I get all the information to you. So if you could bear with me, I will get through this as quickly as I can. So I'm presenting this Sphere of Influence Amendment for Placer Hills Fire Protection District as a first step action towards the expected reorganization of Placer Hills Fire Protection District and Newcastle Fire Protection District, whereby Newcastle will be annexed into Placer Hills. That reorganization is going to be discussed in the next item, item 7B. As required by the CKH Act, all changes in jurisdiction must be consistent with the spheres of influence of the affected agencies. In this case, Placer Hills and Newcastle. As shown in the next slide, Placer Hills SOI was last updated in 2025 and is coterminous with its boundary. As you can see here, the sphere of influence does not include Newcastle, so we need to expand the sphere to meet the CKH Act requirements before the reorganization can be considered by the Commission, which is why you are having this action first. Here is the existing jurisdictional boundary of Newcastle. Placer LAFCO last updated Newcastle's sphere of influence in August of 2025 with a 0 sphere designation in anticipation of a future annexation into Placer Hills. So this slide is showing the proposed sphere expansion for Placer Hills. You can see Placer Hills in light green and the proposed expansion in dark green. So some background. The two districts have been operating Placer Hills has been providing administrative and command and control services to Newcastle since 2016 through a contract. As of December 9th, 2025, Newcastle employs 6 full-time firefighters, and the two agencies work as one with a single fire chief overseeing the combined organizations. So though they have been operating as one, they have 2 different district boards and budgets. Combined, the two districts responded to 2,228 calls for service in 2025. They service a resident population of about 15,000 residents. They manage 4 facilities or fire stations to serve the current needs for housing of apparatus and response crews and fleet maintenance for the two districts. This proposed sphere amendment, in conjunction with the reorganization, will eliminate the existing duplication of governance and will in turn enhance economies of scale, ultimately unifying these agencies. So we're going to go over the LAFCO considerations for this item. To move forward with the sphere update, the Commission is required to consider specific factors related to the services provided by Placer Hills, including a consideration of a service review, 5 sphere of influence determinations as outlined in the CKH Act, and existing Placer LAFCO policies. In regards to the service review, the 2025 AP Triton study, the 2025 Placer Hills and Newcastle revised consolidated fiscal study, which was conducted by Ridgeline Municipal Strategies, and the 2024 Placer Hills and Newcastle transition plan reorganization serve as the basis for approving the sphere amendment for Placer Hills. The information provided in these studies is relevant and timely. In regards to the sphere of influence determinations, for the first determination, Newcastle spans approximately 9,600 acres and is made up of predominantly rural, residential, and open space land with some commercial and industrial along Interstate 80. The residential areas are predominantly single-family homes with some agricultural use. Expanding the sphere for Placer Hills to include Newcastle supports the provision of fire service and emergency response to Newcastle service area, which is consistent with present and planned land uses. For the second determination, Newcastle service area has an ongoing need for fire protection and emergency medical services and paramedic response. The updated sphere appropriately identifies Placer Hills' current and future boundary and service area as successor agency to Newcastle. Updating the sphere to include the affected territory supports the continued coordination of fire safety services necessary to meet present and probable service demands. For the third determination, the studies presented for this project outline the overall sufficiency of resources, including operational capacity, staffing, facilities, and financial resources for Placer Hills to provide services to Newcastle. The updated sphere supports the continued and improved adequacy of services and enhances services to the Newcastle area. Oops, I went too fast, sorry. For the fourth determination, the proposed sphere update appropriately reflects existing relevant social and economic communities of interest, including established service relationships, coordinated emergency response operations, and regional and economic transportation linkages. Inclusion of Newcastle within Placer Hills sphere represents the initial step toward formalizing these relationships in advance of the proposed reorganization. And for the fifth determination, there are no lands within the Newcastle area that qualify as disadvantaged unincorporated communities under LAFCO statute. So to look at commission policies, there are a number of commission policies that guide sphere of influence decisions. The proposed sphere update for Placer Hills is necessary to accommodate the proposed reorganization of Newcastle and conforms to these relevant LAFCO policies. In regards to the environmental review, LAFCO serves as a lead agency under CEQA for the sphere of influence amendment. Staff is recommending the commission find these actions are a project under CEQA, but exempt from further review under state CEQA guidelines section 15061 subsection B3, which provides for an activity that is covered by a common sense exemption where it can be seen with certainty there is no possibility that the activity in question may have a significant effect on the environment. Staff recommendation is that the commission update the Placer Hills sphere of influence by adopting resolution number 26-01 and the accompanying statement of determinations in Exhibit A and the Placer Hills updated sphere of influence map in Exhibit B. Thank you.
Thank you. Does the commission have any questions on the report? All right. Seeing and hearing none, this is the time we're going to open up the public hearing portion of this item. This is the time where the public can comment and make comments, and then once the public hearing portion is closed, it will come back to the commission for action. So at this time, I'm going to open up this item open up the public hearing and open up this item for the public comment. I do have one speaker card from Daniel Hardesty.
I'm the vice chair of the Penryn Fire Protection District, and I would just like to voice our support for both the SOI change and item 7B, so I don't have to come up here again. We have been following this very closely, and we are fully supportive of it. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all I have in speaker cards, but it doesn't mean if anybody else from the public please come forward. You could just give it right to the clerk, yeah? Yeah, I wouldn't know. Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioners. This is Judy Dionocenti, and I am a Newcastle resident, and I want to voice my support on this in return for all the wonderful service that we've always had with our fire protection district. We rely on them all the time, and it's our turn to turn the tables and thank them for all they do for us. And anything that will improve their capabilities to serve the people and to follow their mission, we're all in support of. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. Any other member of the public in the chamber would like to speak to the item 7A, the sphere of influence?
Hello, Spencer, Newcastle resident. I just wanted to extend my support for the sphere of influence. I don't see any conflicts with it. It's been a long time coming, and I really appreciate everyone's hard work on this. So you all should be very proud. Again, as a firefighter for 20 years, I could go on and on for the following 2 minutes and 39 seconds about what this really means on the back end for the residents. But I truly hope you know how important it is for this reorganization and, again, for the sphere of influence. I'll talk on 7B when it's the appropriate time. I apologize. But in terms of sphere of influence, again, I don't see any conflicts with it. I think it's a seamless transition. Again, they've been running them administratively for a long time now. And so I really would appreciate your support in passing this resolution. And I thank LAFCO for all their hard work on what this has come to. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Spencer. Anyone else in the public chambers? Seeing none, I'm going to close public comment in the chambers and ask those that are online. If you'd like to speak to the item 7A, please raise your hand. And Patty. All right, Patty.
Yeah, hi, I'm Patty Neifer. I'm Penryn resident for many, many years. My husband was a volunteer for the Penryn Fire Protection District, and I just wanted to also give my support. The Newcastle Fire District and Penryn do mutual aid for each other all the time, and anything that'll make the department stronger is something that I would support.
Okay, thank you, Patty. Anyone else online who'd like to speak to item 7A? All right, seeing none, we're going to close the public hearing and bring it back to the commission for deliberation and action. Okay.
I have no comment, but I would make a motion to
Approve a resolution?
approve a resolution.
2601.
2601 to be
Okay.
specific.
Can I get a second to approve? All right. With that, can I please have a roll call vote?
Yes, Commissioner DiMattei,
Yes.
Commissioner Eklund,
Yes.
Commissioner Friedman,
Yes.
Commissioner Lohman,
Yes.
Commissioner Rohan,
Yes.
Alternate Commissioner Landon,
Yes.
and Chair Alpine.
Yes.
All right, motion carries.
All right, thank you. That moves us on to our second public hearing item, 7B. LAFCO Project 2022-05, reorganization of Placer Hills and Newcastle Fire Protection Districts. Ms. Ross.
Thank you, Chair. I will now be presenting item 7B on behalf of the interim executive officer. This item is also under LAFCO project number 2022-05. This is the second action for the commission to consider the reorganization of Newcastle and Placer Hills Fire Protection Districts as proposed by the two district boards. I apologize if some of the information I'm about to give you is repetitive. I will do my best not to be too repetitive. The proposal is for the commission to consider approving the reorganization filed by Placer Hills and Newcastle to transfer services set forth in the Fire Protection District Law of 1987, California Health and Safety Code 13801, which includes the provision of fire protection, rescue, emergency medical, hazardous material emergency response, and other services relating to the protection of lives and property from Newcastle Fire Protection District to Placer Hills Fire Protection District. To achieve this transfer of services, this proposal will dissolve Newcastle and concurrently annex the approximately 9,600 acres of Newcastle into Placer Hills as the successor agency to all duties, assets, and liabilities. This map may look familiar. This exhibit depicts the proposal the commission is being asked to consider. As you can see, the jurisdictional boundary of Newcastle service area, the area in dark green, would be annexed into the newly reorganized Placer Hills area, the area in light green. So some background. As I mentioned, Placer Hills is providing administrative and command and control services through this specific agreement. They have 6 employees, and they operate under one management structure. The purpose of the proposed reorganization is to improve the sufficiency and achieve economies of scale consistent with the Fire Protection District Law of 1987 within the affected territory through the expanded operational capacity of Placer Hills. As proposed, service levels within the former Newcastle area would be enhanced. So as part of the application and proposed negotiated terms, the reorganized district would provide advanced life support services, or ALS services, to all staffed fire stations. So the former Newcastle Station 41 would be upgraded to include at least one personnel certified as a paramedic, improving emergency medical services within the former Newcastle service area. In addition, the proposal includes other negotiated terms relative to governance, employee transitions, and taxations. I'm not going to go over every negotiated term. It is in the staff report, but I am going to focus on the taxation portion here today. So the fiscal analysis indicates that when combining revenues and expenses for both districts and considering opportunities for expense reduction, the reorganized district would initially face an operating shortfall. In order to address this, the reorganization proposes the following. All special taxes and property tax allocations would be transferred to Placer Hills as the successor agency. The existing special taxes would continue to be levied within each original district boundary. And pursuant to Government Code Section 56886, subsection T, the Placer Hills Measure A special tax would be extended to the Newcastle service area. So what does this mean for Newcastle residents? With the proposed extension of Placer Hills Measure A, the following per parcel special tax structure would apply within the former Newcastle boundary following reorganization. So Newcastle residents currently have 2 voter-approved measures, Measure B and Measure F. Measure B was approved in March of 2012 as a special tax to fund emergency medical response and fire protection services. It sets a base tax rate per parcel that increases based on the consumer price index and includes an additional cost for homes with a square footage over 3,000. Based on the 2025 tax data reviewed by staff, improved residential parcels were charged approximately $196.10 per parcel, and this is exclusive of that square footage-based adjustment. For Measure F, that was approved by voters of the district in 1998 as a special tax for fire protection and prevention services. The measure sets an improved parcel base rate, an improved parcel acreage rate, an unimproved parcel acreage rate, a mobile home rate, and a general maximum fee per parcel of $164.99. Based on the 2025 tax data, for an improved 1-acre parcel with a single-family residence, the assessed amount was approximately $105.36. So I'm recognizing that this is just that specific variable and that Measure F has differences in acreage and development type. So if Measure A were to be overlaid onto Newcastle, Measure A was approved by Placer Hills Fire Protection District residents in May of 2019 as a special tax for emergency medical response and fire protection services. The measure sets a base tax rate per parcel that is subject to increases based on the consumer price index. Based on the 2025 tax data reviewed by staff, an improved residential parcel was assessed at approximately $220.02 per parcel. So in summary, based on this preliminary review, an improved 1-acre residential parcel with a single-family residence within the former Newcastle boundary would have paid a total of approximately $521.48 in special taxes for fire protection and emergency medical services in the 2025 tax year to the reorganized district. And I would like to mention that none of these measures have a sunset. So I want to talk briefly about the exchange of property tax revenue. On November 2025, the Placer County Board of Supervisors adopted a resolution approving the transfer of annual property tax increment of Newcastle to Placer Hills. Based on the information presented in the 2025 AP Triton study, Newcastle currently receives a comparatively lower share of property tax revenue for fire services relative to the other agencies evaluated in the study at 0.03% of the 1%. By comparison, Placer Hills receives 0.069% of the 1%. During discussions with the county, the districts requested an adjustment to the property tax allocation for Newcastle to better align revenues with service responsibilities within the reorganized district, or to equalize them. While property tax allocations Adjustments have been implemented in other counties for similar reorganizations. The property tax exchange approved by Placer County reflects only the transfer of Newcastle's existing allocation without modification. So as a result, the long-term financial sustainability of the reorganization relies on the continuation of the existing special taxes and includes the proposed extension of Placer Hills Measure A over Newcastle. Based on the fiscal analysis prepared for the reorganization, this approach provides the necessary revenue to support service levels and ensure financial stability following the reorganization, absent additional property tax redistribution by the county. So for this application, the commission has limited actions. Placer LAFCO received a joint resolution initiating this reorganization, and in accordance with Government Code Section 56853, where a reorganization is initiated by a joint resolution, the commission shall approve or conditionally approve the proposal, and the commission's authority to order any material change in the provisions or the terms and conditions of the reorganization as set forth in the proposal of the local agencies is subject to advance written notice to the agencies. So while this removes the commission's discretion to disapprove the proposal, the reorganization is still subject to a protest hearing. And as part of my presentation, I will be covering the requested terms and conditions and give a summary of the protest proceedings. But first, we'll go over what the commission focuses. The proposed reorganization requires the commission to consider whether modifications or approval terms are appropriate, as well as state law and LAFCO policies. Under Government Code Section 56668, LAFCOs must consider 18 factors ranging from assessed values of the land within the affected territory to evaluating the availability of timely and adequate water supplies. So instead of going over all 18 factors now, I will summarize some key conclusions related to service needs, service availability, and capacities, and the financial considerations. Those 18 factors and their considerations can be found in Exhibit A of the draft resolution. So in addition to those factors, the commission must also consider 2 policies related to the reorganization as outlined in the commission's policy document. So with respect to service needs, the present and planned land uses of the affected territory support the need for organized fire protection and emergency medical services. The affected territory includes a residential population of approximately 4,300 residents dispersed across predominantly rural areas with commercial activity along Interstate 80. These land use patterns, combined with hazard and risk profiles, transportation-related incidents, and emergency medical response demands warrant a full-service, career-staffed fire protection agency. Service demand data further substantiates this need, with the affected territory experiencing an average of 6.1 emergency incidents per day over the last 3 years, reflecting sustained and ongoing demand for emergency response services. With respect to service availability and capacities, the reorganization and associated transfer of services will enhance existing service levels for the Newcastle area. Staffing will continue at a level of 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and career firefighters will provide advanced life support services throughout the reorganized district, including Newcastle Station 41. With respect to the financial considerations, Placer Hills Measure A assessment will be overlaid on the properties of the Newcastle boundary while maintaining Newcastle Measures B and F in place. This will result in an initial revenue increase by the reorganized district of approximately $409,000 annually. With this additional revenue, the reorganized district is expected to operate at a small annual surplus in the first five years. As the reorganized district plans to expand life support services within the affected territory, this available surplus is expected to be applied towards supporting this enhanced level of service. I would also like to note that Newcastle is in a dire financial situation. It currently operates at a substantial operating deficit at approximately $185,000 a year. So without immediate action by district management to lower expenses or generate additional revenue, Newcastle is expected to run out of cash and become financially insolvent by 2028. Placer LAFCO has adopted a number of policies related to the annexation. With respect to Chapter 1 Policies 1.4 and 1.5, both Placer Hills and Newcastle have initiated the reorganization of the districts, evaluating the opportunity to merge the districts through resolution and timely studies as identified herein. In regards to the affected local agencies, as of February 4th, 2026, staff has received, I wasn't in 2025 when I wrote this slide deck, good. Staff has received 2 comments from the affected agencies as follows. The Penryn Fire Protection District and Board are in support of the proposed reorganization, and the Greater Auburn Area Fire Safe Council and Board expressed support for the organization. No other written comments on the proposal were received from affected local agencies ahead of preparing the staff report. We did receive several written comments from members of the public to Placer LAFCO as of February 4th, and those can be found in attachment F of your packet. Comments submitted in favor of the proposed reorganization primarily cited the improvements to fire protection and emergency medical services, particularly with respect to paramedic staffing levels in the Newcastle area. One written comment was submitted by a property owner within Newcastle expressing opposition to the extension of the Measure A special tax to parcels within the Newcastle service area. So regarding the modification in terms, the districts have requested that LAFCO determine that the initial appropriation limit for the reorganized district shall be the total of the combined existing appropriation limits of the two districts. The joint resolution includes terms and conditions that LAFCO is asked to include in the resolution approving the reorganization. These terms are included in the proposed resolution. No modifications to the reorganization proposal as submitted, nor terms or conditions of approval beyond those requested by the district have been identified by staff to require commission consideration at this time. Should the commission wish to order any material change in the provisions or terms and conditions of the reorganization, Government Code Section 56853, subsection B requires that the commission direct the interim executive officer to give each subject agency mailed notice of the change prior to ordering the change. The commission shall not, without written consent of any subject agencies, take any further action on the reorganization for 30 days following that mailing, and upon written demand by any subject agency filed with the executive officer during the 30-day period, the commission shall make determinations upon the proposal only after notice and hearing on the proposal. If no written demand is filed, the commission may make those determinations without notice and hearing. So in regards to the environmental review, Placer Hills Fire Protection District serves as a lead agency under CEQA for consideration of environmental, sorry, I want to make sure I'm on the right page here. Yeah, environmental effects. In this role as lead agency, Placer Hills has determined that the reorganization proposal is a project under CEQA, but is exempt from environmental review under state CEQA guidelines section 15320, class 20, which exempts a reorganization of local government agencies where the changes do not change the geographical area in which previously existing powers are exercised. Staff independently concurs with Placer Hills on this finding. So as part of this process, approval of the reorganization would require protest proceedings under Government Code Section 57091. It's recommended the commission delegate these proceedings to the executive officer and hold a noticed hearing. The following thresholds would apply in determining next steps. So order the reorganization without an election should less than 25% of registered voters or landowners who own at least 25% of the assessed value of land within the affected territory file written protests. So that would mean the threshold is not met. Or order the reorganization subject to an election to be held at a future date should written protests be filed by at least 25% of registered voters residing in the affected territory, or at least 25% of landowners who own at least 25% of the assessed value of land within the affected territory. So should those thresholds be met, then an election would be held. Or order the reorganization terminated if 50% or more of registered voters residing within the affected territory file written protests.
Amanda, may I inject something here?
Absolutely, please.
If you can go back to your last
Yeah.
slide.
Did I make a typo?
No, the third bullet point should be removed.
Oh.
Under the statutory scheme in this context where the districts have filed a joint resolution of application, there is going to be if the requirements in the second bullet point are met, then there's an election, regardless of what percentage may have protested.
Okay, I
So
apologize.
there will be,
Yeah.
yeah.
We should.
And the staff report itself does not include that third bullet
Oh,
point.
that must have been an accidental inclusion in my slide deck. I apologize. So please ignore the third bullet in this slide deck. It does not apply to this reorganization. Okay. Should the commission proceed with approval, staff has tentatively scheduled the protest hearing for the reorganization at 4 p.m. on March 25th, 2026 at the Newcastle Fire Station 41. Notice of the hearing will be provided to landowners and voters no less than 21 days in advance of this scheduled hearing. Staff recommends that the commission conditionally approve the reorganization as submitted. However, the commission also has alternative actions available. So action 1 is the recommended action, or the commission could continue the hearing and in consideration of consider the proposed reorganization at a next regular meeting. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Ross. At this time, does commissioners have any questions or clarifications of the staff report?
Go ahead. I have one, thanks, Chair. On page 70 of 153, on the Board of Directors, it says that they're going to be divided into 2 classes. These are elected positions. There's an will these have to happen in what election? We're going to move, you're going to build them into 2 classes. How are we going to move directors from the 2 boards? How is that, who picks that? It says there's going to be 2 classes, 1 class considering 3 directors from 2 from Placer Hills and 1 from Newcastle. Who decides on what directors are going where for their board?
The board will self-select each board.
Okay.
So they will fall into those classes, and among the boards, they will self-select who stays on.
Okay.
Great.
All right, that's all I had. Thanks.
Any other questions from the commission? Clarifications on the staff report? Seeing none. I'm going to now open up this item for the public hearing and for the public to comment. So I now open the public hearing, and can I please have Alex Harvey? Oh, I'll yield to Mark.
Thank you, Chair Alpine, members of the commission. Mark D'Ambrogi, Chief Officer, Fire Marshal for Placer Hills Fire Protection District. Chief Gow could not be with us today. He's under the weather and didn't want to spread it amongst us all. So on behalf of Chief Gow, I want to thank the commission for hearing this item today. It's been a long process. This reorganization intends to bring a higher level of service to the citizens of Newcastle by eliminating redundancies, creating greater economics of scale, and establishing financial stability. Past MSRs, including the last one that we just did, suggested fire district pursue consolidation and reorganization, and that's what this process is all about today. As you may know, consolidations, mergers, and reorganizations may not always provide cost savings, especially for agencies that provide direct services such as fire protection. What this reorganization does create is efficiencies that maximize funding to the fullest potential for services provided to our citizens. This includes advanced life support paramedics on the engine at Newcastle, the ability to provide decent wages and benefits for the Newcastle employees, a greater depth of resources for emergency response, and financial stability for the future. This reorganization will promote collaboration with other like fire agencies and perhaps open paths for future reorganization in Western Placer County. As you are aware, Placer Hills and Newcastle Fire Protection District for the past 10 years have been operating under a long-standing agreement for fire chief, fire marshal, chief officers, command and control administrative services. With this reorganization, there will be virtually no change from what you see today. To coin a phrase that I've been using at our town hall meetings, we've been dating for 10 years, now's the time to get married. Thank you for your consideration of this most important item that will help shape the future of our fire service. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Alex.
Good afternoon, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Alex Harvey. I am Board President of Placer Hills Fire District. This reorganization is a responsible, forward-looking policy decision that strengthens public safety, workforce stability, and fiscal stewardship. For many years, our 2 agencies have been working together under a JOA, and during that time, we have demonstrated that collaboration improves efficiency, enhances service delivery, and strengthens regional fire emergency response. This has allowed us to share personnel, resources, and administrative functions while maintaining local accountability. It has been a successful partnership and has laid the groundwork for the next logical step, a formal reorganization. This will allow us to provide ALS engine companies throughout the service area, improving ALS response and improving patient outcomes. Additionally, reorganization will allow us to provide Newcastle employees with improved pay and benefits that are more consistent with other local fire agencies, which is essential for recruitment, retention, and labor stability in today's fire service environment. From a governance perspective, this reorganization streamlines administration, improves oversight, and creates a stronger, more resilient agency position for the future. It aligns with LAFCO's core mission of orderly growth, efficient service delivery, and responsible government. It is not about expansion. It is about accountability, efficiency, and ensuring our communities receive the level of service they expect and deserve. On behalf of Placer Hills Fire District Board, I respectfully ask for LAFCO's approval on this matter. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Alex. I have a speaker card here for Judy. Would you like to speak to this item still?
Yes, I'm Judy Dionocenti again, and obviously I spoke during the wrong portion of this. So I've already said basically what I wanted to say, but I do think that this is something that really needs to be done for our area. We would not want to lose our fire district in Newcastle. It would be a tremendous loss, and so we really want your support on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Judy. And I have another speaker card for Danielle. You like? Okay. With that, that's all the speaker cards I have, but if anybody else in the chambers would like to speak to this item, this is your chance. Please come to the mic or come forward. All right, Spencer.
Good evening, Spencer, Newcastle, still. Welcome to 26. Happy New Year, young lady. Yep. I was just reading the Placer little pamphlet here, and the goal number 1, it says, is to ensure efficient governmental services. And so if that is your mission, I would expect nothing less than to approve alternative 1. The town of Newcastle in this fire department is being asked to do more with less. It's a sad state of affairs financially, considering the home prices in Newcastle. Just hop on Redfin after this meeting and you'll see. But that's what we do. That's what firefighters do. And I think, you're looking at mergers and acquisitions across this nation right now, and that's exactly what's happening right here. So again, they're being asked to do more with less, which they are doing and will do, and they're delivering a higher level of service. So if you're not familiar with advanced life support and how important it is, again, as I was talking on the first time I spoke, what that does on the back end is that can free up ambulances as well. So not only are the residents getting a higher level of care with paramedics able to treat the patient, but there's a high probability as well that the ambulance potentially might not be needed. So that frees up the ambulance for the county and for different areas to get to more critical calls. So the economies of scale here are limitless, to be honest with you. I come from an organization with many mergers where different towns and cities similar like this came together as one. And again, you join resources, you join personnel, and it leads to the growth and prosperity, not only of the organization, but for the residents as well. I think it's a small price to pay. As a resident, I understand the cost associated with this, but for this specific scenario, what you're getting for that, again, there's not enough time to explain to you what the residents will be getting for that relatively small increase in that parcel tax in the reorganization. So I appreciate your time. Again, this has been a long road, so again, I can't thank you enough for all your hard work, including yourself, young lady, stepping in as the interim. And I really hope that we can move this through, and I look forward to the protest period to supporting this. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, good afternoon. So the Newcastle Fire Department is a pivotal and dynamic station in our area. They not only provide aid to Newcastle, but they provide mutual aid to the surrounding community, such as Penryn, South Placer, Auburn City, Meadow Vista, and more. They are also responsible to cover for Auburn City and Meadow Vista if they're away on a call. I've asked firefighters from these different firehouses, and they all agree if the Newcastle station was to be closed, it would be really bad for the area. This merger comes with a $220.02 additional annual payment in Newcastle. This will appear on the property tax bill, and this tax is already effective in Placer Hills Fire District. This increase is necessary so Newcastle does not become a drain to Placer Hills Fire District. There is no additional cost to the county or impact to the general fund. This merger will also bring a competitive wage to Newcastle. This will help with employee retention, and this is important as it allows our firefighters to stay and become immersed in our community. This also boosts the continuity of care for our residents, allowing our firefighters and residents to be familiar with each other during repeat calls. This merger will bring retirement benefits to our brave firefighters who stand up for us every day and say, "I will risk life and limb to you to serve." This merger embodies what Placer County is all about, thinking outside the box, being creative, and delivering a more productive service. Combining staff such as chiefs, administrative staff, battalion chiefs, fire marshals, and shop mechanics. Having joint operation agreements already in place, and working together with training and exercise agreements. They are a well-oiled machine. The most amazing aspect of this merger is going from basic life support to advanced life support. This means that now every shift, we will have a paramedic on board of the fire truck, along with the necessary equipment. This will save lives. This will further extend to our surrounding community when mutual aid is needed. This merger will also allow our firefighters to purchase items in volumes, which will help create a new purchasing power for equipment and apparatuses to serve our communities. One of the mottos for Placer Hills Fire Department is it efficient, is it effective, and is it compassionate? I believe that this merger is. I hope today you'll just see how valuable the Newcastle Fire Department is to Newcastle and the whole county. The staff, union, and voters do support this merger, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Would any other member of the public like to speak?
Good afternoon. My name is Brian Myers. I'm the chairman of Placer Citizens for Neighborhood Rights. Excuse me. We're a 501c4 public benefit corporation formed a little bit less than a year ago to fight the Hopeway apartment complex in Penryn. We now have 5,000 members and followers to our organization. We've raised hundreds of thousands of dollars to fight Hopeway. Our board of directors met with Chief Gao and talked about this merger. We support it wholeheartedly for two reasons. First is the state of California and our own Placer County Planning Department seem hell-bent on building these monstrous high-density apartment complexes in rural areas like Penryn on Hope Way, which is designated now as a high fire district area. Mutual aid is going to be as important now as it ever has been. Penryn Fire has testified numerous times that they won't be able to handle all these calls. An additional 800 calls by this one apartment complex is what's predicted. Mutual aid will be imperative. We've watched Newcastle suffer through the finances that they've had to go through. They needed an answer. The second reason we support this is because the finances of it will smooth out these two districts together. Penryn was about to go out of business a few years ago, and we passed Measure A and added to our tax. People support their local fire districts. The rural fire districts deserve help. You know that Placer County gets millions and millions of dollars from Prop 172, a statewide sales tax that was designed by and voted by voters to go to law enforcement and fire districts. This county refuses to give any of that money to the rural fire districts, and that's just wrong. I served on the Penryn Fire Board from 2010 to 2016. We lobbied. Mr. Holmes sitting back here. All we got were promises. We never saw a dime, except they picked up the 911 costs, but never anything to help the rural fire districts. So Placer County should be stepping up. Placer County should be helping to fund the rural fire districts. But no, we have to all do it ourselves. And we're happy to take on the tax benefit. And this consolidation will be another step towards solvency by these two districts and allowing all of us to work together in a much more cohesive way. So it's important, but it's not the end of the game. The end of the game is supporting fire districts. This Board of Supervisors and these two new supervisors are new to it. They've been very supportive of this issue. So there's no criticism intended for the supervisors that are here because they've been great in supporting the community. It's the rest of the board and past boards that have turned their back on the rural fire districts. And it's time to step up. This will be a great step forward, but it's not the end of the story. And LAFCO won't be the answer to that. It'll be before the Board of Supervisors. But we'll work on that part of it too. But please support this merger. It makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Any other member of the public like to speak to this item? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing in the chambers and move on to those that are joining us online. If any member of the public would like to speak to this item, this is your chance. Please raise your hand. Amy, did we see anybody? I'm sure there's a lot of people. I mean, no hands raised. All right. With that, then, I am going to close the public. Well, before, are you sure? Okay. We're going to close the public hearing portion of the public comment of this the portion of the public hearing, and bring it back to the commission for deliberation and action. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that I'm understanding the situation from the 3,000 foot level at least. So I'm looking at the graph on page 57, and this is a comparison on calls for service for these two districts. Is that right? Okay.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so it looks like there's about double call volume for Placer versus Newcastle.
Yes.
Okay. And then looking at the financials and the percentage of the 1% between these two departments, it looks like one is, and this was back in November, it was approved to keep the cost sharing or the portion with the county at 0.03% to Newcastle and then 0.06% for Placer Hills. Is that right?
Yes, the resolution just approved the transfer of property tax allocation as it stands to Placer Hills.
So then to bridge the gap, essentially Newcastle is going to have to pay this $220.20 fee per year for the same level of services that Newcastle is, or Placer Hills is getting. They're getting ALS, but for essentially more than the residents in the other area because of the 0.3% versus the 0.0%. Is that right?
So in order to have the financials pencil out for this reorganization, the districts agreed to look at overlaying this measure on Newcastle to bridge this gap in order to have equalized level of service so that both areas of the district now have advanced life support services.
Okay.
Yes, so it was intended to provide that financial stability to add this additional increased service level to Newcastle, barring an exchange of property tax allocation from the county that would equalize them instead.
Okay, so if I were just a regular resident in either of those districts trying to understand where my taxes are going for fire protection, it would be essentially, if I live in Newcastle, I'm paying an extra $220 per year than a resident in Placer Hills for the same service of fire
Well,
protection.
the Measure A tax is overlaid on Placer Hills also. So Placer Hills residents are also paying that tax.
But because of the difference in the property taxes, it's not the same, right?
Well, yes, correct. If they were to just attempt to reorganize without that additional funding mechanism, it would not be viable. I mean, it would be okay, but not great long term. They would kind of, the original feasibility study that LAFCO hired Ridgeline Municipal Strategies to conduct showed that though they would be on kind of even footing for a little bit, it could get rocky later. I think it was like 8 years down the line. It starts to suggest that they might need to look for additional funding mechanisms. So that is why the agencies went back to that consultant to do another study looking at if they overlaid this special tax measure onto Newcastle, and if that would assist them in making it viable feasibly.
Okay. Well, what I feel like I'm hearing from everybody who's here in the room is that they're okay with that. It's known, we're transparent, it is what it is. If this is going to work, then it is what it is, and everybody's okay with that. So I just want to make sure I'm interpreting the situation as black and white as I can. So.
Maybe I can jump in. I do want to, yes, recognize that the property tax exchange has been agreed upon by the county and the district. And property taxes is complicated. There's no statutory maximum percentage of the 1% property tax that fire districts may receive. It's limited. So their AB8 established tax increment factor is based on the district's proportional share of property taxes that are levied within each tax rate area, based on the 1978-79 base year, which is when Prop 13 was passed. And it really needs to be clear that any exchange or any change to the counties or other affected agencies that are or taxing entities that receive a share of the 1% within a tax rate area within the Newcastle area, any change affects the other taxing entities. There's only so much of the pie, there's only a certain percentage that is allocated based on the 1%. And so it's really, there's no easy solution with property taxes. If there's an exchange to Newcastle or a change to the tax increment factor values, it's going from some other agency's pot of tax revenue. So for this reorganization, the existing tax increment factor values will move to Placer Hills, and that has been agreed upon.
And if I could add, just for the benefit of the public, Newcastle's proportional share is less likely because at the time that Prop 13 passed, it was a volunteer fire district, and their budget was a lot smaller. And unfortunately, with the way that regulations have gone in the fire service industry, being a volunteer firefighter is very difficult now. They have to meet the same standards, basically, as career firefighters, which is putting a big burden on these rural fire districts who initially operated as volunteer and now no longer do that because it's just not viable anymore. So they are struggling, and that's why I think that we're seeing these reorganizations occur, because they are locked into this smaller percentage of the property tax because they were volunteer at the time that Prop 13 passed. Thank you.
Any other questions, Commissioner Eckler?
Was my mic off the whole time? Oh, it was on.
Any other questions? All right. Any other commissioner questions?
I don't have a question, but I just have a quick follow-up to what you were just talking about and what you were just talking about, because today I was actually just in a meeting talking about fire and EMS in rural communities, and so RCRC, which is Rural Counties of California, is working through the Rural Advancement Institute to do a study in cooperation with UCSB to see what kind of legislative change there can be made when it comes to volunteers, because the requirements are so high. And, you know, it's almost there's a cultural shift that's happened too with the younger generation just not jumping in like it was 50 years ago. And so just trying to find ways that we can get those younger folks in, whether it's, you know, a pipeline to get into the fire service or those kinds of things. It is at least a conversation at the state level to try for legislative change. I know that's off topic, but since it came up, I figured I'd mention it.
Thank you. Commissioner Rohan.
I don't have any comments. I think that the staff report has been very thorough. I appreciate the feedback from the public. And while I understand Whitney's concerns, they affect this issue, but I think it's important for us to move forward. And I just wanted to mention at this point to the commission that I am supportive of the staff recommendation.
Thank you. Any other commissioner comments, questions? Can I get a motion?
One more quick, I just want to say thank you to Amanda and to Amy and to everyone on the fire side who's stayed engaged and patient over the many years that it has taken to get to this place. I think it's great that we're finally here, and I'm hopeful that this will be a great thing for both Newcastle and Placer Hills.
All right. Can I get a action motion?
Why is everybody looking at me?
Oh, I'm just maybe I'll turn my this way.
Maybe?
Yeah, no, no,
Maybe like
I will.
Happy to move staff.
I will move.
Alternative 1.
I will.
As proposed, as written and stated.
You spoke faster. I will second that.
Michael, do they need to add the
Resolution.
protest, the resolution, and that they're having the executive officer handle the protest as well?
That is included in the resolution.
Yes.
The delegation of authority to the executive officer or her designee to conduct the protest proceedings, so therefore the commission doesn't have to. So by approving alternative A, you would be approving that as well.
I knew that.
Alternative 1, not alternative A. It was 1, not 2, not A, right?
2602 resolution.
Right.
All right. Clear? All right. Can I get a roll call vote?
All right, Commissioner DiMattei.
Yes.
Commissioner Eklund.
Yes.
Commissioner Friedman.
Yes.
Commissioner Lohman.
Yes.
Commissioner Rohan.
Yes.
Alternate Commissioner Landon.
Yes.
And Chair Alpine.
Yes.
All right, motion carries.
Thank you. All right. That moves us on to our next item, item 8, business items, executive officer report.
Thank you. Before I dive into the executive officer report, I would like to acknowledge LAFCO staff. Amy and Amanda have really assumed increased roles and responsibilities in ensuring continuity of operations following the departure of the former executive officer. I really want to recognize Amanda for her work on the last item, the Placer Hills and Newcastle reorganization, as well as other LAFCO projects that will be forthcoming this year. And also want to recognize Amy, who remains LAFCO's only regular full-time employee and has continued to manage the office's increased workload during this transition. So thank you to both of them. And with that in mind, I'm just going to run through kind of the status of various administrative application and municipal service review. That's part of the annual work plan for the commission. So with regard to the executive officer recruitment, Santa Cruz LAFCO's commission approved the agreement or the recruitment support services last week. Legal counsel reviewed the contract and provided, and those edits have been incorporated. A final version is being circulated for signature, and we will be scheduling a kickoff meeting with Santa Cruz LAFCO and Placer HR in the coming week. That will be discussing, job description, qualifications, reviewing a recruitment brochure and job announcement, and then we'll be kicking that outreach phase and advertising in the coming week. So I'll keep the commission informed as that proceeds. This week, Amy also distributed a special district call for nominations. That will be to fill one regular special district representative seat on the commission for the 2026-2030 four-year term. The deadline for nominations is March 17th. And if only one valid nomination is received, that nominee will be deemed appointed. If more than one is received, then we'll be following with a mailed ballot election in the coming months. We also received Placer LAFCO's draft audit report for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024 and June 30th, 2023. Staff is currently reviewing and coordinating with the audit firm with some revisions, and anticipate bringing this to the commission at the next LAFCO meeting. Regarding applications, staff continues to coordinate with project proponents for the North Lake Tahoe Incorporation. We reviewed their draft application and provided comments. We also met with CEO staff of the county to discuss coordination once the application is filed. We will be once the application is on file, we will be moving forward with more formal scoping of the comprehensive fiscal analysis, which is prepared by LAFCO using a consultant. So we'll be finalizing a request for qualifications or a request for proposals that would be distributed. But we just really want to work very closely with the county and the proponents to scope that out and just all be on the same page about that next phase of preparing the comprehensive fiscal analysis once an application is filed. We'll also be, upon application filing, do an agency referral and making sure that all affected and interested agencies are notified of the application and receiving any comments. And there's going to be a lot of coordination moving forward, so we'll keep you focused and updated on that as well. For City of Lincoln, there's LAFCO staff has met with city staff on pre-application, pre-annexation application coordination, which is being driven by several development proposals within their island sphere areas. We have really good lines of communication with city staff and their consultants regarding the timing of annexation following all discretionary land use approvals and environmental review by the city as lead agency. So we'll keep you posted on those applications as they move forward, those discretionary city entitlements. Regarding municipal service reviews, we are coordinating. We've met with RSG recently. They're making good progress on the Colfax Suburban Pines municipal service review and the 3-district service review that includes Meadow, Vista, Midway Heights, and Heather Glen. They're still working through the data collection. We're helping and will be helping to review any draft agency profiles and any agency coordination in the coming months. They are also, RSG is working on the county-wide cemetery district municipal service review. There was a budget amendment that was part of the consent calendar today. LAFCO staff has been taking a primary role in coordinating with agencies. We met with each cemetery district to review the status of their draft agency profiles. We're coordinating additional possible sphere changes with Roseville Cemetery District and Newcastle Rockland Gold Hill Cemetery District. So there's been some extra additional coordination with regard to possible sphere changes there. And then we met with the county and we're coordinating with regard to Gold Run and Dutch Flat cemeteries, which are county-owned and managed cemeteries. And we're wanting to, not provide full agency profiles on those, but document any historic or pioneer cemeteries that are owned by the county and document those in the service review. So we're going to be coordinating more as that information comes in. We've also met with ESCI, who is preparing the Eastern Placer County Fire Municipal Services Review. That includes North Star, North Tahoe, Olympic Valley, and Truckee Fire Protection Districts. All agencies have reviewed a preliminary draft, administrative draft. And LAFCO staff has been coordinating with the districts, with ESCI, to incorporate revisions. You also, there was a budget amendment in the consent calendar today to provide some more coordination with the county and county fire. And so we want to make sure that the sufficient level of agency coordination for this region is included within the municipal service review. I'm available for any questions. I'm sure there's more, but those are kind of the high level work plan efforts that I wanted to report out today.
Seeing none, all right. That'll move us on to correspondence. There's some correspondence. What did you want to go back before I moved on to correspondence? You'd like to add anything? Okay. We're moving on to item 11, correspondence. There's a couple of items in there. If anybody has any questions, comments, all right. And now move us on to item 12, commissioner comments. Commissioner, have any comments? Do you have? Yeah.
Was there was there a typo, or am I misunderstanding that Loomis, when I was looking back, I didn't bring the binder with me, that they're 8 years? Is it supposed to be like that?
That was also brought up, was also brought to my attention. We'll look into that and bring it back if there was a typo in the rotation and where that came from, because by understanding that it looks like there's an 8-year rotation in there.
Yeah,
we will see if that is
city
correct or
selection.
not, and we'll come back. That's not the only commissioner that has brought that to our attention. But this agenda, as you can see, took a lot of staff time to prepare. We will address it. So we will go get and review that item and get that question for you.
Okay,
Sure.
and then I was going to ask about the audit,
Yeah.
but we already talked about how that's all good to go, and Colette just said we're all good on that and everything's smooth.
Oh, with the rotation, yeah.
Yeah,
With
the audit.
Yeah.
Yep, that's all good. Okay, good.
Right.
That was all I was wondering.
Okay.
My open tabs.
I just would have a comment in there. I believe at Cal LAFCO, yeah, I mean, there's a legislation being sponsored by by the Alliance, I guess. The Southern California LAFCOs have gotten together and looking at ways of possibly expediting or initiating annexations of water districts and the reorganizations of water districts. And I may want to change the rules and the thresholds around that. So it'll be an interesting item to watch. I believe they have a sponsor, Senator Laird, to draft some type of legislation. I know that the Cal LAFCO and those groups have been working with Aqua and and another statewide agency that I'm forgetting right now, but I'm looking into possibly sponsor some legislation. And finally, I just want to thank staff, all of you. Amy, I know you've been busy, just came right back from vacation and was just at the ground running. 2 agendas that have turned around pretty fast that were pretty significant. Amanda, we appreciate the effort here and all the work you've done. I think today's presentations were on the spot on. I think they answered a lot of questions, and that has been demonstrated. I think that getting through 2 public hearings that have probably had a lot of talk about, that been the subject of a lot of discussion over the last few years, is a testament to your ability to answer those questions. And Colette, I want to thank you for kind of keeping all the balls moving in this, and doing that from a remote position is amazing in itself. And on that note, boom, what was I going to say? That's not better for. No, but I just want to say thank you. And you suggesting that the applicants today did outreach early with the public, and LAFCO giving that direction, I think also very much helped educating the majority of the people, the public, so we didn't end up in a education moment here in the commission. We kind of really stayed within the lanes. So really appreciate all three of you and doing that. And with that, I'm going to call for an adjournment. Great. All right, motion to adjourn. All right, all in favor? So moved. Adios. Good night. Have a great one. Thank you. Thank you, Colette.